Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
Empire.
As cities try to attract big-time sporting events, they're playing catch-up with a Midwestern town.
We're trying to think of how can we elevate once again Indianapolis's thought and their vision around the sports strategy. And we're now talking about how do we go from just economic impact to economic development.
That's Patrick Talty, president of the Indiana Sports Corporation, on why Indianapolis is a sports mecca. This is the Future Sport Podcast. I'm Bram Weinstein. There was some serious forethought that went into how Indianapolis became a place where the sports world convenes over and over and over. They've hosted the Super Bowl. Annually, they have the Combine, the traditional event, the Indianapolis 500. The Big Ten plays a number of championships there. And the Olympic trials came. And you're about to hear about how special that was. Because for Patrick Talty, this has become generational that Indianapolis is the home to big-time sports events. Our guest this week is Patrick Talty. He is the president of the Indiana Sports Corporation, which is based in Indianapolis, and he's leading an effort to attract major sporting events to the state. And Indiana has been a hub through the years, not just with traditional events like the Indianapolis 500, but Super Bowls are played there. The Combine has come through. A number of Olympic trials are taking place and all sorts of college football championships, amongst other major events in the Midwest. Patrick, thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you for having me. This is awesome.
You know, I don't think people think automatically sports center of the universe, but at times Indianapolis is that. So could you kind of take me back through the process, because your corporation has been around for a generation, and how you all thought about and have been able to woo and acquire major events to the city?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you. In Indianapolis in 1979, the Indiana Sports Corp was founded, and we were the first sports commission in the country. It was a brand new business that had never been thought of before, but the idea was to use sport and events around sports to drive your economics of your city and to make your downtown and your convention facilities and other areas more vibrant with big events coming to town, and to have these one-off moments around these big events come into the city. And so Indianapolis saw this as an opportunity to harness that with our central location and our great walkable downtown, but also saw the opportunity to really use sport and have a vision around it and have a common, goal of creating a great host city in Indianapolis. And so that's when we were founded. And then since that time, we've hosted over 500 international and national events, ranging from everything from, as you mentioned, Super Bowl down to the NCAA rowing championships. And we've built facilities that have hosted these events. We are now a connected, walkable downtown. We have a football stadium, Lucas Oil Stadium, close to the Gainbridge Fieldhouse where the Pacers play, and all connected to a convention center with 8,000 hotel rooms, all within a little small footprint of downtown that allows us to really have a place where people can come in from the airport, drop their cars off, and then they can walk and attend all these events. And so with that campus, we go out and we compete against other cities and bid on these big events that are coming to town, whether it be in the NBA All-Star Weekend, or we had just recently been named the host of the WNBA All-Star Weekend for 2025. We just hosted the Olympic swimming trials this past June. And those events will actually go and compete against other cities to bring them to our city. And we work with our partners across the city, with the state, with the venues to really put a package together to show off why Indy is the best place to host these events. And what our secret sauce has really been is we take pride in taking these events and elevating them and thinking of new things and different things every time we host one of these events. What can we do differently? What can we do new? What can we do innovative that makes the event better, makes the sport better, makes that governing body or the event owner better after they leave here and they go on to other cities?
Give me an example of that when you say you take a major event and you try to figure out a way to elevate it and make it different than the way it was presented in the past.
No, absolutely. I think nothing shows that better than the Olympic swimming trials. For the first time ever, the U.S. Olympic swimming trials was hosted in a football stadium. We decided to put a pool inside of Lucas Oil Stadium. So for 9 nights, the top U.S. swimmers were competing for spots on Team USA inside Lucas Oil Stadium. Never done before, putting a pool inside of a football stadium. And we broke attendance records. And we had the largest swim meet prior to that indoor swim meet had been 16,000 people in Rio. Opening night, we had 20,000 people. And then we broke that record again on Wednesday night with 22,000 people. Over the course of the 9 days, over the 17 sessions, 285,000 people attended the U.S. Olympic swimming trials. That's a 60% increase over their time in Omaha. And it just is amazing when you think about that. But not only did we think about how do we elevate and give more people access and have more people exposed to the Olympic swimming trials and the sport of swimming, but we then created a community-wide major event around it. We had a festival outside of our convention center in between the morning and the evening sessions where we had a 66-foot replica Eiffel Tower built, and you had concerts going on. You had other activations with sponsors and other community places. We had the free Toyota Aqua Zone inside the convention center where people could interact with different swimming brands and be a part of different kind of activations. And I'll never forget when Matt Biondi said, I arrived at the airport and for once in my life, I knew where the swim meet was because we had taken the airport and with our partnership at the airport, they had elevated the welcome to the point where you knew that this was the Olympic swimming trials. There was the event branding and swimmer images all over the airport. And that's what we do is we think about how do you do that and how do you change it. And there was an email that was shared with me from the USOPC to the swimming board chair. And it said, people will forever talk about swimming as pre-Indy 2024 and post-Indy 2024 because we truly have changed the sport of swimming. How
did you put the pool in the stadium?
Well, it was lots of planning. We worked with USA Swimming and us worked with a company called named Murtha. They do all the temporary pools in the last several Olympic trials. They do it all over the world. They're the best that is around. We have a couple of Indiana companies, Spear Corporation and Dodd Technologies. Dodd did all of the entertainment, the decking. Spear does all of the plumbing related to those. So we brought all those people together, worked with a construction manager here, and really got to work and started figuring out how do you put a pool inside of a stadium. Building a temporary pool is nothing new. The piece that's new is putting it in such more grand stage as a NFL stadium, and everything is bigger, everything is larger, and so it gave you more opportunity to do more things, but it also you had to make sure that your tolerances and everything was right, spot on, and the layout was perfect because you just the mistakes could be much bigger and, the tolerances are much tighter.
Right. Well, you're not just putting a pool in there though. That pool has to accommodate, this is very serious. Like these people are vying to go to the Olympics. This has to be up to an Olympic standard too. So you're not just putting a pool in a stadium.
No, that's right. We're putting a world-class high-end pool. And the first night, Gretchen Walsh said, and that's the testament to that pool. It was a fast pool. It was built well. We didn't have any leaks the whole time. And, the swimmers loved the atmosphere and people had a great time. But you're right. It had to be world class. It's not a splash and have fun pool. These athletes their whole life has been about competing to get it in the Olympics. And there's about 1,000 swimmers in only 52 spots. And so, when you think about that level of excellence that has to be achieved, everything has to be spot on and there can't be anything wrong.
Okay, take me through the model as you guys think about it, because clearly you're not thinking about like, hey, just come here and we'll host something for you in this event venue that we have, and we'll talk about transportation and all the things that probably go into holding an event like this. You're thinking about this differently. You're going to put a pool in the stadium. You're going to replicate the Eiffel Tower. You're going to put up signage. There's money and investment that goes into that. Where does that come from? Is that your group? Is that sponsorship? How are you thinking about the infrastructure around selling people to come to Indianapolis?
Yeah, each event is different depending on the events, and like swimming was that was a true partnership with swimming and us, and we used the ticket and sponsorships that we sold and suites and all of those different things to pay for the event, the event costs. And so, that's one way to do it. And then there's other, like if you're thinking about the Final Four, you have to fundraise for the expenses that you're expected to pay for. The NCAA will come out and say, hey, each host city has to pay for, X, Y, and Z. And then you have to decide whether or not you can fundraise and bring people on, local benefactors, to pay for that. And so our model really is we work very closely with all of the corporate community. We're a not-for-profit organization that relies on corporation, giving to us each year. We have members, individual members, corporate members. We have sponsors that help pay for our organization. We have about a $4 million operating budget, and that is fundraised every single year from our corporate community and from individuals that believe in our mission and believe what sports does for the city of Indianapolis. And so we have that. And then you have to think about these events, and you have to go out and fundraise separately from these events. And our corporate community understands what the benefit of sport is and what these events can do in terms of the vibrancy of a city, creating civic pride, giving employees an opportunity to volunteer, to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And what this does for the way that the city is seen. We're seen as a cool and vibrant city because we're hosting these events, and that helps with talent attraction, and that's why these companies could do this. And so each event is a little different depending on whether you have to fundraise or you use money from the event, or in some instances we do take some money from our reserves and our operating reserves that we have built over time to pay for these events, to make them better or to add a enhancement to them. And we gladly do that because of the benefits that it brings to the city.
How do you feel great on vacation? Like really good? Easy. You go to Aruba. You'll spend your time relaxing on cool white sand beaches and floating in healing blue water. You'll immerse yourself in natural wonder and find your center on an island where things move at your speed. You won't just feel great, you'll feel relaxed, renewed, and ready for life. That's the Aruba effect. Plan your trip at Aruba.com.
Feel your max with Brooks Running and the all-new Ghost Max 2. They're the shoes you deserve, designed to streamline your stride and help protect your body. Treat yourself to feel-good landings on an ultra-high stack of super comfy nitrogen-infused cushion that takes the edge off every step, every day. The Brooks Ghost Max 2. Technically, they're a form of self-care. Brooks, let's run there. Head to brooksrunning.com to learn more.
Future Sport is a presentation of Empire Media, a B2B and B2C podcast and digital company dedicated to making your business or brand be heard. Internal or external content creation that will have a lasting impact on your strategy. Consulting, creation, and production, all to help you effectively communicate your message in any marketplace. Learn more at empiremedia.com, AMPIRE media.com. Two things I want to talk about with that. Okay, it seems that you believe, and I agree with you, that there's a direct correlation to better infrastructure that's happening in the city because of these events. Is there something you could point to that is a literal direct through line to we do this, and thus Indianapolis and the center of it specifically has grown because of it?
Yes, I think so. I think the sports strategy has driven the tourism industry, which has driven the sports strategy, which builds the infrastructure of more hotels, more projects downtown, and gives keeps the downtown exciting and vibrant, and makes it a desirable place to locate. And so then you have talent that's willing to come to Indianapolis because of these events, which then you have businesses making infrastructure investments. I mean, we have a brand new hotel that just broke ground, connected to our convention center. That's going to be going up, an 800-room hotel to enhance our infrastructure. But that's a tourism spin. But directly, there's also a bunch of redevelopment happening. Our mall is being redeveloped because people want to be downtown, because we have events, because people see that as a desirable location. We have new projects, and Elanco is building a brand new headquarters, right in downtown here in Indianapolis. And Lilly Corporation keeps investing in downtown because they see the vibrancy of downtown and how Indianapolis continues to invest in itself and continues to grow and change.
Like when you talk about the reputation too, I think about college programs and how they use sports reputationally to attract new students and generations of new students. They want to be connected to something like that. I'm sure you have that with Indiana basketball that's not that far away from you. Can you kind of point to anything specific where you think doing all these events has helped the reputation of the city of Indianapolis?
I think there's no better example of that than in 2021 when Indianapolis hosted all of March Madness. And that was really our the moment coming out of COVID when, there was still doubt whether or not something like that could occur. And when Indianapolis and the state of Indiana came together to figure out with the NCAA how to host all of March Madness and have that tournament happen, I think, that put Indy on the map. You think for 30 days during all of March Madness, basically the center of the sports world, all we talked about was Indianapolis in Indiana. And so that reputation right there, we were seen as, innovators because we were figuring out how to host a major event during that time. We were seen as somebody who could figure out how to put on massive projects such as that. We made it happen, with all the infrastructure that we had. And so I think that right there is a perfect example of how Indianapolis was seen differently after the pandemic, and how we had hosted all of March Madness, and people talk about that still today. And I think it really showed people that sports is important. And it also showed that, when you think about Indianapolis, you think of, oh my God, look what they did. What else can they do?
Let me ask you too about competition, where obviously some locations are going to have warmer weather, maybe a more, without being disrespectful, cosmopolitan type of destination, places like Los Angeles, Miami, now Las Vegas. Now that sports gambling has been legalized, I think sporting events are thinking about that area differently now that have hosted major conventions, major events. Is this a new competitive environment? And if it is, how do you all think about selling Indianapolis as the place to land?
100%. If competition is a lot stronger than it has been. I mean, a decade ago, you and I would never be talking about Vegas as a host city. And now they have emerged, hosting major events and have a Formula One race and doing all kinds of amazing things around an event. I mean, shoot, with the change in the college landscape and the conference realignments, the Big Ten footprint, which just used to be the Midwest, we were kind of that, the stronghold. When they went coast to coast, that opened up markets such as Vegas and the LA and Phoenix and others to bid on Big Ten championships. We just were awarded 4 more years of the Big Ten football championship, and it's never been anywhere else other than Indianapolis. But this last time was harder to bid on than we've ever had before because the competition was stiffer. So as we think about that and understand that people see the value in these events and they see the value in this type of strategy, we're trying to think of how can we elevate once again Indianapolis's thought and their vision around the sports strategy. And we're now talking about how do we go from just economic impact to economic development? How do we use these events to drive other pillars of the sports ecosystem? We have a separate non-for-profit that we work with the state, to create Sports Tech HQ that is out chasing sports tech businesses to locate in Indiana. And how do we make sure on that ever-changing landscape of sports tech and bring these businesses here and find them investments and work with the state to get them the incentives and the things that they need? How do we capitalize on all the work we've been doing around women's sports and the movement that we have right now, and of course with Caitlin Clark and others around the Fever, we have quite a lot of national momentum around Indianapolis, but we've been doing it quietly for years. So how do we capitalize on the women's sports? How do we think about making sure that we're using these events to attract the national governing bodies and other organizations to locate here in Indianapolis, and then bring our institutions along, our educational institutions along, to train the next generation of sports leaders. And so if you want to study sports law, sports medicine, sports management, you come to Indiana first because of all the opportunities that we have. And that's really how we think about sports in the future for the next 25 years, is we go from just true economic impact, worrying about putting people in hotel rooms, to going from people in hotel rooms, then bring businesses here, then raise families here, start businesses, and we have true economic development, and we think about it over the life of that.
You mentioned Caitlin Clark. I did want to bring her up to you. Obviously, the city's very fortunate to land on what seems to be a generational talent and generational person who's kind of come through this sport, seems to be altering the trajectory of women's basketball. Do you have a relationship with her yet? And are you guys trying to work together to kind of leverage Indianapolis using her notoriety?
I think, we are, she is a great individual, and she is very community minded. She fits with the Indianapolis community because she thinks that way. She cares. She cares about the women's basketball. The Fever have been in existence for over 25 years and have been doing it for a long time. And we have Tamika Catchings, who is a WNBA champion, a gold medalist, an NCAA champion here in the community, and does tons of community work. So we've been doing it for a long time. So the welcome of Caitlin Clark and the addition of all this media attention is great. And it's awesome to see women's sport get the due that it should have. And people really to be paying attention, because I believe that it's exciting. It is time, and we are positioned to capitalize on that. Are we? I don't think it's for us to just capitalize on Caitlin alone. I think she is a part of this overall movement, and we are fortunate that she ended up in Indianapolis. We're super excited about it. And they're playing well. Obviously, whenever she travels and they have big crowds in front of them, once again, Indiana Fever, the Indiana is in front of people again, and they're seeing that this town is a cool place, and it's great marketing. So, I think Caitlin will do great things for this community. And I think she'll continue to grow, and her footprint will continue to get bigger and bigger. And I think she is a generational type player.
All right, last thing. Since you all have gotten so profoundly successful at luring all of these big events, I believe Sports Business Journal said you're number one in the Midwest for attracting and hosting major sporting events. I know you probably don't want to give away exactly what you do, but can you share with us what it takes for a city to successfully win a bid to get one of these events to come to their town?
Yeah, I've actually been fortunate enough to work around the country and actually globally as well, hosting events and putting on events and managing stadiums and things like that. And what I will tell you, I started my career here in Indianapolis, and when I left, I thought everyone did events like Indianapolis, and I realized that they don't. There is a couple things that's the secret of the success of Indy, and it seems simple and it's not that complex, but a couple things that stick out is, one, our connected, walkable downtown campus is a infrastructure piece that I think people love, and other cities have tried to duplicate, but it's hard if you don't make those decisions early on. So we really are fortunate with that. I think the other thing that we are able to do is we will out-host anyone. Hospitality is real. People care. People want to be engaged. People want to engage visitors. They want to make them feel welcome. I'll never forget when college football playoff, when we had Georgia and Alabama here, and I was bumped into fans on the streets and they said, "Oh my God, people are just nice here." I mean, it is just incredible how people treat us. And this is absolutely different. And then the last thing that really sets us apart is our ability to come together to achieve these great things. And it doesn't matter whether it's city, state, doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're from, doesn't matter your walk of life, your social economics. People in Indianapolis and Indiana come together to achieve these big things. They see a project in front of them and they say, all right, let's all go towards this direction. Let's work together. And then we put everything aside and we go out and we get it done. And that is very unique and very special. And that is something that I cherish I love about Indianapolis. I love about Indiana. And I think that right there may be the biggest secret weapon that we have.
Patrick Talty is the president of the Indiana Sports Corporation. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me. I always love to talk about what we have going on here in Indy.
That will do it for this episode. As always, the future is now. This is the Future Sport Podcast. I'm Bram Weinstein.